Hi everybody, it's Senpai Fanfics back at it with another amazing content. What if Deku was in the world of One Punch Man Part 2? If you guys would like to see more videos like this in the future, hit the subscribe button and notifications on for more videos like this. Thank you to the creator of the fanfic, which will be linked below. Let's start it. Advanced self-regenerative ability before. As a bloodthirsty smile etched itself on his face, Melzargard shapeshifted his left hand into a massive hammer and swung it at Yayan at high speeds. The A-class hero could barely see the attack coming. With no other option, Yayan shifted his body to try and avoid a direct hit, although he could do nothing for his left arm. Just before Melzargard's attack could take Yayan's arm, a flash of white blurred past the alien before disappearing off in the distance. The blur was so fast that Yayan didn't even see it, whilst Melzargard barely noticed it. Melzargard did notice how the source of the white blur sliced him into several pieces, and did so without him realizing it. While surprised to see the mysterious being suddenly crumple into a pile of fleshy pieces, Yayan wasn't complaining. The person responsible just saved him from losing an arm. Flashy bastard. Why does he gotta show off like that? Grunted Atomic Samurai, who just arrived. He caught a glimpse of Flashy Flash, who ran off in search of survivors. The mysterious being was just unfortunate enough to be in Flashy Flash's way as he ran past and got cut up for his trouble. What Deku said lit a fire under his ass, he thought with a smirk. The S-class rank for hero casually walked up to Yayan and patted him on the shoulder. Hey, Yayan, you alright? You're looking a little pale. Yayan would have been relieved to see his master if it wasn't for the knowledge he now knew about the mysterious being. Master! Swords have no effect on this strange creature. Ooh? Atomic Samurai's response was followed by a tilt of the head. The bisected pieces of Melzargard suddenly sprung back to life and rejoined to remake the alien, who was already in the process of throwing a punch down on Atomic Samurai and Yayan, all so he could kill them before they could put up a fight. While the sudden attack might have surprised Yayan if he hadn't already known about the alien's regenerative ability, Atomic Samurai was neither surprised nor slow to counter, having already drawn his katana by the time Melzargard's pieces came back to life. Begone, commanded Atomic Samurai, swinging his blade down on the alien. Where it looked like the S-class hero swung his blade only once, Melzargard was sliced into small chunks from what must have been the result of dozens of sword strikes that were unseen by the naked eye. The difference in skill level couldn't be more obvious between Atomic Samurai, the master, and Yayan, the student. Despite that, Yayan's words came to fruition as the many pieces of Melzargard levitated before they began to reassemble like a jigsaw puzzle. Melzargard built himself back together, but this time, he made a few changes to his body. Firstly, he made his body larger by increasing his muscle mass. He also combined his 5 heads into one, making his head larger, and he now had 5 rows of red eyes and teeth. Good. Seems like some life forms on this planet can fight. Excellent. I invite you to try withstanding our invasion. Atomic wasn't deterred by the alien's regeneration ability or how he could shapeshift his body. Planet, hey, muttered a curious Atomic Samurai. So you're from outer space then? And you got friends in that floaty toy ship thing, hey? He asked, looking up at the spaceship that hovered over all of their heads. I doubt you've got the strength or the power to cause this much destruction to the city by yourself, he stated, guessing that the spaceship was the source of City A's destruction and not the mysterious being. Atomic Samurai took a fighting stance to face off against what he estimated was a dragon-level threat, but he wasn't alone. Silver Fang stepped to his left while Metalbat came up to his right. You can count us in, Atomic Samurai, told Silver Fang, ready and willing to fight. You're the ugly bastard that smashed this town, asked Metalbat, resting his bat over his shoulder while he glared up at the alien. Melzargard smirked at the small group of humans who dared challenge him. And what happens if I say yes? He asked, mockingly. For all the beautiful men you killed. Hearing a voice behind him, Melzargard turned around to see another human running right at him. Said human was none other than Puri Prisoner. I claim vengeance, he declared, jumping high into the air. Spreading his arms out, Puri Prisoner's clothing ripped apart as he tensed up his muscles, leaving him completely naked. Just as it did when he fought against the Deep Sea King, a mirage of wings manifested on his back, but unlike the angelic white wings, they were now pitch black, giving Puri Puri Prisoner the appearance of a fallen angel. Just as they said, each separate attack must be delivered with the intent to kill, thought Puri Puri Prisoner, recalling the advice of the Deep Sea King and Deku. After a long thought of self-discovery, he came to see that the two were right. If he wanted to show the world that he belonged in Class S, he had to stop holding himself back and finally fight with everything he had. Now fighting to kill his opponent, Puri Puri Prisoner's white wings have turned black as a result. Dark Angel Rush, announced Puri Puri Prisoner as his mirage of black wings faded away and he dropped down on Melzargard. Just like with his Angel Rush technique, Puri Puri Prisoner dealt a flurry of punches down on his opponent, with the only difference being that every punch was thrown with the intent to kill the alien. Melzargard was left at the mercy of Puri Puri Prisoner, who threw punch after punch down on top of him. Hero Association HQ, Control Room. While the heroes were outside fighting the alien threat, the Hero Association employees were all running to their stations to help out in their own way. Bearded Worker and Bespectacled Worker ran into the control room and started issuing orders. Issue an evacuation warning to City A and all neighboring cities, right away, ordered Bearded Worker to all the men and women in the control room. Yes sir, chorused several workers, nodding in agreement. And expand the System M Vitals Monitor system to cover all of City A. We need an accurate count of the survivors we'll need to rescue, continued Bearded Worker. A creation of Metal Knight, System M was a highly advanced monitoring system which was kept within the association headquarters and all of their branch buildings. It was designed to be able to monitor life forms in any environment. It was often used as a security measure in heavily unauthorized locations, but was also used to locate survivors after monster attacks or natural disasters. While capable of expanding the monitoring system across an entire city, never had it been required to be used in such a manner until now. What's the threat level? Asked an association employee. Dragon, without a doubt, answered Bespectacled Worker, as if it should be obvious. If the spaceship could destroy an entire city before their sensors could pick it up, then the threat was definitely greater than Demon. Not quite. Bearded Worker looked up at the main monitor, which showed live footage of the massive alien spaceship which was hovering above the ruins of City A. This might be God. Hero Association HQ, Rooftop. As Silver Fang, Metal Bat, Atomic Samurai, and Puri Puri Prisoner dealt with Melzargard while Flashy Flash and Watchdog Man looked for survivors, the remaining S-Class heroes studied the spaceship to try and get some insight on how to bring it down. For S-Class heroes can take care of the enemy on the ground, but the real problem is up there, stated Child Emperor, looking up at the spaceship while he sucked on his lollipop. We can't reach that ship. Any aircraft would be shot down in a matter of seconds. Super Ally Darkshine turned to Deku. Any ideas, Deku? You're the top hero, so I'd like to hear your take on this, he asked, noting how the #1 hero was no longer smiling. A rare and disturbing circumstance if there ever was one. As angry as he was, Izuku didn't allow his rage to cloud his judgment and thought rationally. Getting angry won't do them any good. With the mysterious being on the ground being dealt with, we should be focusing our efforts on finding and escorting any survivors to the association headquarters. Medical staff will be waiting by the entrance to help treat any injuries. Flashy Flash and Watchdog Man are leading the search, but it would be faster to have others helping out as well. I'll head out and help with the search, told Zombieman, seeing as how he won't be of much help in taking down the spaceship. He could join in on the fight against the mysterious being on the ground, but having too many S-Class heroes fighting the same monster would only lead to them getting in each other's way. He could at least help with digging through the rubble to find survivors. *munch*, I'll go *munch*, 2 Pig God volunteered, finishing the last of his burgers. Throwing the now empty paper bag over his shoulder, Pig God grabbed a disgruntled Zombieman and with a wave to the others, jumped off the Hero Association building. Upon landing on the ground below, everyone on the rooftop could feel the building shake from the impact of Pig God's landing. A normal human wouldn't survive such a fall, but Pig God and Zombieman were seen running off in search of survivors. Now that's settled, what do you plan to do with the ship? Asked Child Emperor, looking between Deku and the spaceship in the sky. Perhaps we can call in Metal Knight, asked King, who was standing behind the others with his arms folded, looking serious while inwardly freaking out over the current situation. We don't need Metal Knight. Hell, I can handle all of this by myself, scoffed Tatsumaki, disgusted at the thought of calling in Metal Knight for help. Izuku knew Metal Knight's weapons of mass destruction would be a great help in damaging the spaceship, but seeing as the Hero Association couldn't contact him before to attend the S-Class meeting, he doubted they could get in contact with him now. We don't have time to wait for Metal Knight. We need to take that ship down now, declared Deku as he glared up at the offending spacecraft. I want everyone to do what they can to damage the ship from down here. I don't care if you have to throw rocks at it, I want that ship brought down. Tank Top Master perked up over the mention of throwing rocks. Of course, Sensei, exclaimed Genos, accepting his orders. I wouldn't put it past them to try and fire its cannons when the ship starts taking damage. Tatsu, can I entrust you with making sure no ordnance makes it to the ground? Tatsumaki looked away and scoffed, hiding the tinge of pink that covered her cheeks. As if you have to ask. Izuku smiled in appreciation. Thank you, Tatsu, he said, not seeing Tatsumaki's cheeks glow even pinker. Child Emperor turned to Deku. And what will you be doing, Deku? Deku looked up at the spaceship and Child Emperor noticed how Deku's eyes were starting to glow with power. I'm going to board that ship and take it out from the inside. Super Ally Darkshine laughed in good nature over Deku's statement. That's the #1 hero for YA, he laughed, slapping Deku's back in encouragement. Go get M, Tiger. Ignoring the throbbing pain in his back, Deku nodded and activated full cowl at 40% power before he jumped straight at the spaceship at blinding speeds. Just as Deku was nearing the spaceship, he noticed a flicker of purple light somewhere under the ship. All of a sudden, Izuku felt danger sense go off just in time to warn him about the massive shell which flew at him. Dodging to the left, time slowed for a second as Izuku looked at himself from the reflection of the giant shell as it flew past him, having just missed hitting him by an inch. So that's what destroyed Citia, he thought, guessing that the invaders had cannons at the bottom of the ship that could fire more of those massive shells. Time returned to normal as the giant shell flew past Deku and disappeared into the distance within half a second. Several more flashes of purple light warned him of more incoming shells. 8 more shells were fired at Deku with extreme velocity and incredibly accurate aim. Despite that, Deku moved left, right, up, and down to dodge the barrage of shells. Another shell was fired, but this time, Deku didn't try to dodge. Taking the shot head-on, Deku punched it. The massive shell, which was powerful enough to wipe out buildings, crumpled under Deku's fist. Take your shell back, exclaimed Deku before tossing the destroyed shell back from where it came from. Being thrown at a greater velocity than when it was fired, the shell destroyed the cannon it came out of, as well as 2 more beside it. Though, the damage done to the ship was superficial at best due to its great size. Deku then flew up to the side of the ship and without slowing down, he crashed straight through the metal hull of the spaceship, resulting in an explosion because of his violent entry. From atop the Hero Association headquarters, Super Ally Darkshine placed his hands on his hips and laughed out loud. Poor guys don't know what they brought down on themselves. I nearly feel sorry for them. Darkshine gazed at the ruins of Citia where millions of people had lost their lives 15 minutes ago. Almost. I'll head down and collect data on the battle between the others and the enemy on the ground, told Drive Knight before he stepped off the rooftop. If given the chance, he'll also collect a sample from the alien so he can study its powerful regeneration ability. You do you, man, shrugged Super Ally Darkshine after watching Drive Knight jump off the building. The S-Class Rank 11 hero took a look around to see that most of his fellow S-Class heroes had already left, leaving him alone with Tornado of Terror. He went to say something but stopped when he saw the solemn expression on Tornado's face as she gazed up at the spaceship. Rather, she was staring at the smoking hole that Deku made when entering the ship. All Tatsumaki could do was stare up at the large smoking hole that Deku made. She knew no mysterious being, alien or otherwise, could defeat Deku, but she couldn't help but worry. Never had she seen him so distraught before. Deku always took his hero duties more seriously than others, so witnessing an entire city getting destroyed must have hurt him worse than any physical injury ever could. Izuku, don't you do something stupid. However, much like how he did before, Deep Sea King tilted his head back to barely avoid the swinging sword, and while he avoided getting his head chopped off, the monster felt the sword nick his neck. Deep Sea King stepped back to touch his neck and then looked at his fingers to see blood. You spilled first blood. Impressive, for a dirty ape, chuckled the king of the sea folk as the cut on his neck healed itself within a few seconds. Okamaitachi didn't bother with saying anything and instead started swinging his katana at the monster with speeds that most A-class heroes couldn't even comprehend. While he and his fellow disciples of Atomic Samurai were all at the top of the Class A rankings, they were considered by both Atomic Samurai and Child Emperor to be low S-class level in strength and would have been placed in S-class a long time ago, if not for Sweet Mask's gatekeeping. They might be strong enough to be considered S-class, but Sweet Mask was a monster on a whole different level. Yet, even with his swordsmanship skills, which are considered to be S-class level, the Deep Sea King had no problem dodging his blinding katana strikes, moving far faster than a creature of his size should be capable of. What's worse, he was doing so with a smug grin on his face, showing that he wasn't even trying. This is no tiger-level threat. This guy is definitely demon level, thought Okamaitachi, having stopped his swinging and taken a few steps away from the monster to gain some distance for his next attack. The swordsman then swung his katana with all his strength in the direction of Deep Sea King. Air blade, he called out, unleashing a powerful blade of wind at the monster at intense speeds. How amusing, Tilda. Okamaitachi suddenly spun at a 180 turn while swinging his katana at the Deep Sea King, who he sensed was standing right behind him, having dodged his air blade attack and appeared behind him in a near instant. However, the swordsman's swing was stopped by the Deep Sea King, who used both hands to grab onto his wrists. The A-class hero tried to fight off the monster's hold on him, but his strength proved to be too weak compared to the Deep Sea King's. Just when the swordsman was about to throw a kick at the monster's smug face, he cried out when he felt his wrists get crushed under the Deep Sea King's grip. If all the other apes are as weak as you, I guess I won't have any bother taking the surface world, chuckled the Deep Sea King, enjoying the sadistic pleasure he got for breaking the human's wrists. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got a surface world to take over. Deep Sea King reeled back his right arm and punched Okamaitachi in the chest, landing the blow with no struggle. Okamaitachi coughed up blood as he launched straight through several nearby houses before his body eventually stopped after the seventh house, having become buried under the rubble of the building with his head just barely sticking out. Even still, Okamaitachi was conscious for a moment, struggling to free himself of the rubble to continue the fight before he lost his remaining strength and succumbed to his wounds, falling unconscious. Now then, Deep Sea King turned towards the direction of the city where he could see all the tall towers. Let's see what else the humans have in store for me. Bearded Worker sat at the main monitor and looked over the proceedings of the Sea Folk invasion, which they were luckily warned about by Deku. Last he heard, Class A heroes, Stinger, and Okaimachi were on the move to deal with the clan of the Sea Folk. Hopefully, the two high-ranking A-class heroes were enough to handle the monsters. Was the warning issued? He asked the female console operator below him. The request just went out, sir, she answered, having sent a tiger-level threat alert message across all of City J so the citizens knew to stay away from the surrounding area where the monsters were last seen. Good, but now it's looking like we need to change the announcement, told Bespectacled Worker, who walked into the control room. Everyone turned their chairs to look at Bespectacled Worker in confusion. What do you mean? Asked Bearded Worker. Stinger and Okaimachi are both down, Bespectacled Worker gave the bad news bluntly. The bad news surprised everyone in the control room, none more so than Bearded Worker, who gritted his teeth. If both Okaimachi and Stinger were defeated by these sea folk, then the threat level is greater than Tiger, he thought before turning to the female console operator who was awaiting orders. Issue a new warning to City J. The threat level is now demon. Why yes, sir, she stuttered, shocked and scared at the prospect of the sea folk becoming a demon-level threat. Hopefully with the updated warning sent, the civilians of City J will either flee to the surrounding cities or head for the closest evacuation shelter. It would also warn all nearby C-class heroes to stay away as the monster was much too powerful for them to handle. I'm afraid there's more news. Word is that Stinger and Okaimachi defeated most of the sea folk when they invaded, but there is still one left roaming the city. The one who defeated them informed bespectacled worker with a serious expression. While the news about how most of the sea folk had been killed was great, the fact was that there was still one more sea folk monster walking the streets of City J, and it was the strongest one of them all. Bearded worker swiveled his chair back to face the console operators. Tell me, what heroes are in the area that we can send, he ordered, watching as the console operators shuffled through the data on their holographic screens. A-class rank 20, Lightning Max is in the area, exclaimed a console operator, only for the female console operator to speak up. We've just got an update. Lightning Max is down, she told in a grim tone. Her grim tone changed when she got word of who else was in the area. New information has just come in. S-Class rank 17, Puri Puri prisoner is in City J and is now confronting the monster. Hearing that a Class S hero was in the area helped to raise morale among everyone and even had bearded worker nod his head. Hopefully Puri Puri prisoner can deal with the threat. And if he can't, asked bespectacled worker. Then we pray for a miracles, muttered bearded worker who didn't want to think about what might happen if Puri Puri prisoner failed to defeat the demon-level threat. As one would expect for a Class S hero, Puri Puri prisoner was immensely powerful, possessing physical strength that surpassed most heroes, even some of his fellow S-Class heroes. While he may be the lowest-ranked S-Class hero and probably the weakest of them all, he had defeated demon-level monsters before. Hopefully, he can defeat this one as well. City J. The Deep Sea King just finished punching another one of those weak heroes out of a building and watched as the blonde-haired human fell to the floor below, wishing to see his body splattered across the pavement. Unfortunately, the King of the Sea Folk never got his wish since another human caught him at the last moment and ran down the road to avoid the rubble falling from above. The one who caught and saved the unconscious Lightning Max was none other than the S-Class rank 17 hero, Puri Puri prisoner. Puri Puri prisoner was a large muscular man with a stubbly, cleft chin, large lips, and black bushy hair. He had a well-defined jawline and light blue eyes with long eyelashes. For his costume and everyday clothing, he adorned a prison jumpsuit with white and blue stripes, which was common attire for prisoners contained within the Smelly Lid prison. Over his jumpsuit, Puri Puri prisoner wore a white sleeveless vest with a large pink heart in the center of it, a present from one of his many boyfriends in prison. Attached to his right ankle are a ball and chain. Once clear of the rubble, Puri Puri prisoner gently placed Lightning Max on the floor. The Class S hero, Puri Puri prisoner, escaped prison just to see you, he said to Lightning Max lovingly, even though the A-class hero was currently unconscious after his fight with the Deep Sea King. Well, said someone from behind Puri Puri prisoner who looked over his shoulder to see a fellow inmate who was wearing the same prison jumpsuit as him. Imagine that, a hero serving time in prison, said the prisoner who so happened to be the S-Class villain, Speedo Sound Sonic. I took a cue from you and decided to escape as well. Thanks for that, smiled Sonic, thanking Puri Puri prisoner since it was the S-Class hero who smashed through the steel walls of the prison when he left, giving Sonic the perfect opportunity to escape as well. Prisoner number 4188. The name Sonic, right, remarked Puri Puri prisoner, surprising Sonic. You surprised I know? I check up on all the boys who catch my eye, answered Puri Puri prisoner, honestly. He had taken note of Sonic in Smelly Lid prison because of his good looks, but never had the time to make his move on the villain. Most of the time, he was either fighting mysterious beings or focusing his attention on the many men in his harem. I'm serving a life sentence because I can't seem to control myself. I see a beautiful man and I take it, he told the villain, explaining the reason why he was serving time in prison, not that he minded. On paper, Puri Puri prisoner was a prisoner who resided in Smelly Lid prison, but in reality, he was freer than any other convict could ever hope to be. No prison in the world could hope to contain Puri Puri prisoner, and he was allowed out whenever he wanted so he could perform his heroic duty. That was why he was here, having heard the news about a monster wreaking havoc across City J. Luckily, Smelly Lid prison was in the very same city, so the S-Class hero didn't have to go far to find the mysterious being. Oh, My. More soldiers have come for me? Goodness, my fins are quivering, chuckled Deep Sea King, who had jumped back down onto the road to confront his next opponent. Hopefully, they would be stronger than the last three he fought. Puri Puri Prisoner turned to the king of the sea folk with an excited grin on his face. Goodness! I feel the strength erupting out of him, he said, sensing the strength of the Deep Sea King. Puri Puri Prisoner's excited smile soon turned to a glare as he pointed an accusing finger at the advancing Deep Sea King. Class A rank 20, Lightning Max, Class A rank 11, Sweet Stinger, and Class A rank 3, Okamaitachi. I fancied all of those lovelies. Then you show up out of nowhere and ruin them, he exclaimed, clenching his fist in outrage. Now that Geno's past me, I rank lowest in my class, but I'm still Class S, unlike those three you've defeated, he said, wanting to both avenge the three A-class heroes and also prove to himself that he belonged in Class S. On the sidelines, Sonic watched with his curiosity getting the better of him. Logically, now would be the best opportunity for him to flee before any more heroes showed up. However, he decided to stay since he wanted to see what a fight between an S-class hero and a demon-level mysterious being was like. Perhaps he might stay around long enough to fight the victor, just to prove his superiority over them in terms of strength. I'll start things off at half power to gauge how much you can take, exclaimed Puri Puri Prisoner before his already large muscles bulged in size. In all the excitement of saving Lightning Max and facing off against the powerful monster, Puri Puri Prisoner forgot all about the vest he was wearing, which was already struggling to cover his muscular chest. When Puri Puri Prisoner's muscles bulged upon him, summoning half of his strength, his now enlarged muscles tore through the vest as easily as ripping apart toilet paper, leaving it in tatters on the floor. Puri Puri Prisoner gasped in horror as he watched the torn fabric of what was once his vest flutter to the ground. You made me rip the hand-knit sweater my boyfriend made for me, roared the S-class hero in utter rage. Sonic stared in disbelief as the hero shouted about how the monster was at fault for ripping his vest, even though it was his own fault. I will never forgive you, you bastard! Deep Sea King ignored the human's ignorant shouting and licked his lips in excitement. Tilda, a delectable slab of meat, prime and tasty. You've wet my dash. Deep Sea King suddenly landed a strong roundhouse punch across Puri Puri Prisoner's left cheek. Appetite! Such a powerful punch would have knocked out an A-class hero without question, just as it did with the three A-class heroes before. Yet, Puri Puri Prisoner was in a whole different league compared to A-class heroes. This was why the Deep Sea King was so stunned when Puri Puri Prisoner hadn't dropped to the floor like all the others and instead returned a powerful punch of his own across the seafolk's left cheek. Ooh? Oh dear, muttered Deep Sea King through his now broken jaw. For the first time since invading the surface, he suffered an injury from one of the humans. Puri Puri Prisoner then performed a powerful uppercut into Deep Sea King's chest, launching the monster in the air. Deep Sea King flipped backwards while in midair and landed on his feet while planting an arm against the floor to keep himself steady. I felt that, said the king of the sea folk, whose broken jaw healed within seconds, as well as the damage done from the human's uppercut. Just a little. I felt that as well. A little, repeated a smiling Puri Puri Prisoner who blocked one nostril with his thumb to blow out the blood that was pooling in his other nostril. The S-class hero's inner thoughts tell a different story. Damn it, his punch was stronger than I expected, thought Puri Puri Prisoner, who was suffering a lot of pain from the punch, not that he showed it. Even so, I must not lose to him. I can't have any more of my boys so savagely destroyed by this monster. I've got no choice, I gotta go all out. Both Deep Sea King and Sonic sensed Puri Puri Prisoner's power rise. City M. What's with all these monster attacks today? Deku asked himself, jumping away in time to avoid a swinging claw that tore apart a wall behind him. After warning the Hero Association about the impending invasion of the sea folk, he continued his patrol throughout the neighboring cities, only stopping whenever he came across a mysterious being wreaking havoc. In the past 6 hours, he defeated 5 tiger-level mysterious beings and 2 demon-level, not including the one he was fighting right now. Said monster looked like a bipedal raccoon who stood over 8 feet tall, was covered in black and white fur, and possessed very sharp claws that he was swinging around in an attempt to cut Deku up into ribbons. So far, the monster hadn't had much success, but not for a lack of trying. After warning the Hero Association about the impending invasion of the Sea Folk, he continued his patrol throughout the neighboring cities, only stopping whenever he came across a mysterious being wreaking havoc. In the past 6 hours, he defeated 5 Tiger-level mysterious beings and 2 Demon-level, not including the one he was fighting right now. Said monster looked like a bipedal raccoon who stood over 8 feet tall, was covered in black and white fur, and possessed very sharp claws that he was swinging around in an attempt to cut Deku up into ribbons. So far, the monster hadn't had much success, but not for a lack of trying. Usually, Deku wouldn't have much trouble defeating demon-level monsters, but this one had the most annoying ability of teleportation, reminding the #1 hero of the villain from the USJ incident who possessed a quirk that could teleport himself and others to different locations. The only difference was that when the monster teleported, he did so nearly instantaneously and always left behind a small cloud of black ash whenever he did so. Every time Deku tried to attack the monster, he would teleport away and attack him from a blind spot, but Danger Sense would always warn Deku of which direction the attack was coming from. For the past 20 minutes, the fight became more of a game of cat and mouse, which was starting to test Deku's patience. Getting sick and tired of the monster teleporting in every direction, Deku threw a roundhouse kick at the monster who teleported away, obviously to try and attack him from behind. Immediately, Deku used Black Whip to summon tendrils all over this body and propelled them in every direction to try and hit the monster. Luckily, he heard the monster cry out in pain, having been hit by his whips. Charging up his full cowl, Deku turned and jumped towards the monster who fell with one of Deku's black whips punctured in his left shoulder and another in the lower right side of his torso. When the monster realized that Deku was upon him, he tried to teleport away but was too late. Deku's fist connected with the monster's face and in a display of splattered blood and flying brain matter, the monster's head exploded. The now dead monster collapsed with his head completely missing and his neck hole smoking from the friction caused by the speed and power of Deku's punch. While the monster's teleportation ability made him difficult to catch, it also made his body weak to actual physical damage. One solid blow was all Deku needed to end the fight. Now that the mysterious being was dead and seeing that there were no nearby threats, Izuku recalled his black whips and went ahead to check his phone, having felt it buzzing throughout his fights with the monsters. Izuku quirked a brow when he saw the multiple missed calls and messages sent from the Hero Association. Upon opening them, Izuku was shocked to read that the Sea Folk had started their invasion hours after he left, but was relieved to hear that the invasion was made up of only a few Sea Folk monsters, not the hundreds if not thousands he expected. Why would the Sea Folk invade with so few numbers, wondered Izuku, fearing that the low numbers were because the Sea Folk were just that powerful, but maybe it was actually because their total population was small. It would explain why nobody ever encountered a Sea Folk before while exploring the ocean. A large army of Sea Folk would be difficult to hide from the government, no matter how low they lived in the sea. Izuku read the one message that detailed how the 2 A-class heroes, Stinger and Okaimachi, defeated all but one Sea Folk who then defeated them. Another message then told him that the monster who went by the name of Deep Sea King also defeated Lightning Max, having now defeated 3 A-class heroes. The latest message informed Izuku that the Deep Sea King was currently fighting against his fellow S-class hero, Puri Puri Prisoner. However, Izuku wasn't as relieved to hear that as one might expect. It wasn't that Izuku didn't have faith in Puri Puri Prisoner. Puri Puri Prisoner may be the lowest ranked S-class hero, now that Geno surpassed him, but Puri Puri Prisoner was still a monstrously powerful hero who was known as one of the physically strongest humans on the planet, alongside himself, Tank Top Master and Super Alloy Darkshine. The man had more than earned his S-class ranking and would have easily made it into the top 10 rankings in Izuku's own world, as long as the people could look past the fact that he was quirkless. Highly doubtful. However, Izuku had seen Puri Puri Prisoner fight before, and while his fighting style was effective, Izuku noticed that Puri Puri Prisoner never fought monsters with the intent to kill. While the monsters he fought do die, they die from the grievous injuries that Puri Puri Prisoner dealt upon them, not because he attacked their vital areas for a quick kill like how every other hero would. Honestly, Puri Puri Prisoner must be the only hero he knew to not fight monsters with killing intent, and it was for that reason that Izuku was worried about him fighting the Deep Sea King. If Puri Puri Prisoner doesn't fight the demon-level monster with the intention to kill, then he is unconsciously holding himself back from using his full strength. It's a weakness that Puri Puri Prisoner needed to shake off if he wanted to truly grow as a hero. Just as Deku was about to fly off to assist Puri Puri Prisoner, a nearby explosion drew his attention instead. The screams of civilians had Deku focus his attention on them, so while he ran in the direction of the explosion, he wished Puri Puri Prisoner good luck in fighting the Deep Sea King. City J. Both the Deep Sea King and Sonic watched as a pinkish light enveloped the S-Class hero, seemingly a result of his transformation. Said transformation happened to be Puri Puri Prisoner increasing his muscle mass to its full potential, making the already muscular hero even larger than before. In fact, Puri Puri Prisoner's muscles grew so large that his prison jumpsuit could no longer contain them. Puri Puri Prisoner Angel Style bellowed the now-naked Puri Puri Prisoner while making a front double bicep pose, not caring that his muscles tore his clothing to shreds. He's naked! And he's definitely no angel, thought Sonic in disgust, reluctantly watching as the naked Puri Puri Prisoner went from one pose to another. Nor is he human, he thought, admitting that the S-Class hero's muscles were abnormally massive. Just by a glance, he sensed the power contained within those massive muscles. It reminded him of Deku, which annoyed him, but at least Deku wore a costume that could contain his muscular physique, unlike the Class S hero before him who seemed to have no trouble fighting naked. It clearly wasn't his first time doing so. Sonic wasn't the only one disgusted with Puri Puri Prisoner's nudity. How unsightly, deadpan Deep Sea King in disgust. Are those your last words? Shouted Puri Puri Prisoner before he leapt high into the air to perform his special move. The S-Class hero spread his arms out while in midair, and to the surprise of the Deep Sea King and Sonic, a mirage of beautiful angel wings appeared from behind the hero, making Puri Puri Prisoner look like an actual angel for a fleeting moment. The mirage disappeared as Puri Puri Prisoner dropped down on the King of the Sea Folk. Angel Rush, he exclaimed, and unleashed a flurry of punches down on Deep Sea King, who crossed his arms to defend himself. Puri Puri Prisoner threw punch after punch down on Deep Sea King with such strength that it caused the monster's feet to sink into the concrete floor. After a moment of constant punching, a sweaty Puri Puri Prisoner stopped his barrage and stepped back to gauge the condition of the monster. When the smoke cleared, Deep Sea King could be seen still standing with his arms raised, showing them bruised, but mostly unharmed. "Are you finished with your little combo, human?" asked Deep Sea King in a mocking tone. Puri Puri Prisoner gasped in shock over how the monster was not only alive but had suffered no actual damage from his Angel Rush. "Nobody has ever survived being hit by my Angel Rush before," thought the S-Class hero in disbelief. Many Tiger-level and Demon-level monsters have fallen after being hit with his powerful barrage of punches. Yet, Deep Sea King remained standing with a smug grin plastered on his face. Even Sonic failed to hide his surprise. He already estimated that Puri Puri Prisoner was stronger than Hammerhead while wearing the advanced suit of armor. Hammerhead might have been a weakling, but Sonic won't deny that the suit of armor had given the B-class villain an enormous boost of strength that was surpassed by Puri Puri Prisoner's natural strength. So for the Deep Sea King to tank the hero's Angel Rush attack and walk away with a few bruises to show proved that the monster was powerful indeed. The Deep Sea King lowered his already healed arms to show off a mocking grin. Felt that too, just a little. Caught off guard by how little damage his Angel Rush did, Puri Puri Prisoner forgot where he was until Deep Sea King reminded him by punching him in the stomach, following it up with a blow to the shoulder and then a devastating uppercut, which all left the hero in a pain daze. Hear me. The objective of a combination move is to finish your opponent. Each separate attack must be delivered with the intent to kill. Like this. The monster thought to personally show the hero by throwing a barrage of fast and powerful upward punches onto Puri Puri Prisoner's body, which left marks all over the hero's muscular body. Once he was satisfied with his combo attack, Deep Sea King kicked the S-Class hero high into the air, launching him into a high-rise building a fair distance away. With Puri Puri Prisoner now out of commission, this left Deep Sea King and Sonic alone in the middle of the empty street in City J. "Isn't this fun?" asked Deep Sea King to Sonic, looking forward to another fight. Seeing the monster defeat a Class S hero so easily had Sonic anticipating a good fight as well. City C. Puri Puri prisoner was defeated. Deku exclaimed to the phone he was holding to his right ear. With his right hand holding his phone, Deku used his left to hold up the tiger-level mysterious being who he just stopped from attacking nearby civilians. The mysterious being looked like a humanoid porcupine who was just over 5 feet tall and had razor-sharp needles sticking out of his back. The mysterious being kicked the empty air and tried to use his hands to pry open Deku's grip from his throat, but with no success. The mysterious being even tried to stab his needles into the hero's wrist to force him to let go, but they failed to penetrate Deku's skin. That's right. We've sent some agents to bring him to the closest hospital for medical treatment. He's injured, but stable. The problem now is that the Deep Sea King remains unopposed and is headed for City J's evacuation shelter. The closest S-Class hero is Genos, but it's uncertain if he'll make it there on time, informed Bearded Worker. Bearded Worker studied a holographic map of City J that showed 2 separate dots, one being Genos and the other the Deep Sea King. Genos's dot was moving fast, but he was still miles away from the Deep Sea King, who was nearing the evacuation shelter. As much as he was relieved to hear that Puri Puri prisoner was alive, Deku bit his lip to stop himself from cursing out loud. Thousands would have fled to the shelter once they got the city-wide alert. If the Deep Sea King breaches it, it'll become a slaughter. With thousands of lives now on the line, Deku couldn't afford to be held up any longer. Hopefully, Genos will get there in time and distract it long enough until he arrives. As strong as Genos was, he wouldn't risk the lives of civilians by putting false faith in his student when going against a monster who already defeated 3 high-ranking A-Class heroes and a Class S hero. It was better to be safe than sorry. I'll make my way there as fast as I can, he said before disconnecting the call. With no time to waste, Deku looked at the monster still struggling in his grip, and without a word, tightened his grip till he heard and felt the mysterious being's sturdy neck snap, killing him quickly and as painlessly as possible. Dropping the monster's corpse, Deku jumped into the air and made his way in the direction of City J, all the while praying that he'll make it there on time. City J? The circumstances revolving around the Deep Sea King didn't get any better over time. Everything only got worse. After beating Puri Puri prisoner, the Deep Sea King battled Speedo Sound Sonic. Unlike the Sea Folks fight with the S-Class hero, Sonic proved to be no pushover. While Sonic lacked the physical strength to deal any sustaining damage to the monster, he more than made up for it in terms of speed. The Deep Sea King changed when it started to rain, transforming into his true appearance, which made the monster much more powerful and faster. Despite Deep Sea King's sudden burst of power, he was still too slow to hit Sonic, although the ninja retreated to gather his weaponry. With Sonic gone and nobody else to fight with, the Deep Sea King hunted for the large gathering of humans he could smell somewhere in the large settlement. It didn't take the sea folk long to find the humans gathered in an evacuation shelter. With no more heroes to slow him down, the Deep Sea King smashed through the ceiling of the shelter, much to the horror of the thousands of civilians who were hiding within its walls. C-Class hero, all Backman offered their surrender in an attempt to appease the creature and spare the civilians, but the Deep Sea King refused. The monster relished in the humans' fear as he revealed his plan to kill them all, be they a man, woman, or child. With the Deep Sea King intent on killing everyone, all the heroes in the shelter came forward to fight the demon-level threat to try and protect the civilians. Said heroes included All Backman, C-Class rank 331, Bun Bun Man, B-Class rank 50, Jet Nice Guy and A-Class rank 38, Sneck. Together, they hoped to defeat the monster or at least stall it long enough for the civilians to flee. Deep Sea King defeated them all in 6 seconds. Once the heroes were defeated, the Deep Sea King moved to slaughter the thousands of terrified civilians. Just before the King of the Sea Folk could do that, Genos arrived to clash with the monster. The battle between the demon-level mysterious being and the S-Class hero proved to be quite a spectacle. The cyborg fought evenly with the monster, giving the Deep Sea King the biggest bother of all the heroes he fought against today. Even when Genos lost an arm, he still kept up with his opponent without any sign of slowing down. However, Genos's momentum broke when the Deep Sea King spat acid at a fleeing little girl who shouted words of encouragement to the hero. The acid would have hit the child, if not for Genos shielding her with his own body. The little girl was saved, but the acid agonizingly melted through Genos' mechanical body, destroying his remaining arm and most of his body. At which point, Genos was far too damaged to put up any kind of defense against the Deep Sea King, who tossed the cyborg into the shelter's reinforced wall, cratering it. The monster quickly followed up by punching the cyborg through said wall, tossing him outside. Miraculously, Genos was alive, though in excruciating pain and unable to stand. The cyborg could only breathe heavily as the heavy rain pelted down on his crippled body. "If you'd focused on me, you could have easily dodged my little ball of acid," playfully scolded the Deep Sea King, jumping outside. The king of the sea folk walked up to the crippled cyborg. "Instead, you chose to sacrifice yourself to save a runt. You're a fool, but I give you credit for giving me a few scratches." "Of course, they've already healed," chuckled the king of the sea folk while patting a finger against his now uninjured cheek. The king of the sea folk was once again back at peak performance. The Deep Sea King's imposing figure stood over the crippled cyborg with a sadistic smirk plastered on his face. "Now, die." Just before the Deep Sea King could finish off Genos, a shout from behind distracted him. "Justice Crash!" exclaimed C-Class Rank 1 hero, Mumen Rider, who jumped off his bicycle and tossed it into the back of the Deep Sea King. The surprise attack would have hurt a regular civilian, but to the Deep Sea King, the bike simply bounced off his muscular back. Annoyed, the Deep Sea King turned around to see the fool who interrupted him. Mumen Rider was a young man of average height. He wore an armored suit with brown armor covering his torso and shoulders. He had on a black leather suit under the armor and matching black gauntlets and knee pads. He also adorned a green bicycle helmet and dark-shaded goggles. "The cyclist for justice, Mumen Rider, is here," announced Mumen Rider while panting, having cycled all across City J just to find the demon-level monster. Even with his body heavily damaged, Genos managed to gather the strength to look over his ruined shoulder so he could see the C-Class Rank 1 hero square off against the demon-level monster who already defeated 3 A-Class heroes and 2 S-Class. "No, do not," murmured Genos, attempting to tell Mumen Rider to run away. Fighting the Deep Sea King was guaranteed death. Even the civilians who were watching from the hole in the evacuation shelter knew that Mumen Rider stood no chance against the Deep Sea King, whom they just witnessed defeat the S-Class Rank 16 hero. With a battle cry, Mumen Rider charged at the Deep Sea King, reeling his arm back to punch the monster with all his strength. As the C-Class hero attacked, the Deep Sea King stared down at Mumen Rider with as much contempt as a human staring at an insect. "I'm bored already," said the king of the sea folk, who lazily caught Mumen Rider's punch. The monster then lazily lifted the hero up and down, beating Mumen Rider off the ground repeatedly. As the monster lifted the human to hit him off the ground again, the fabric around the arm that the Deep Sea King was holding suddenly ripped, freeing the hero from the monster's hold, but Mumen Rider was still thrown into the air by the momentum before painfully hitting the pavement at a distance behind the Deep Sea King. Civilians cheered and celebrated for surviving their encounter with the Deep Sea King. Izuku ignored the celebrating civilians and walked over to Genos to see if he was all right. "We've got to stop meeting like this, Genos. Maybe one of these days, we'll get to talk when you're not missing a limb." Izuku joked to help ease the tension. "Are you okay?" "There's no need to worry about me, Sensei. My body may be heavily damaged, but my life is not in danger. I've already sent a message with my coordinates to Dr. Cusino. Drones should be on their way to this location now to transport me back to the lab for repairs," answered a smiling Genos, who was relieved over Deku arriving when he did. He also made a note to show his gratitude to Mumen Rider, since if not for him distracting the Deep Sea King when he did, he would be dead right now. "That's good to hear. I'll be expecting you back on your feet by tomorrow then. We've got a lot more to work on if we want to improve your training." "Yes, sir." Genos would have saluted if he had any arms left. Now that the adrenaline was starting to wear off, Mumen Rider could feel how sore and exhausted he was. Mumen Rider tried to walk over to his bike, but the first step resulted in his vision turning blurry and his legs turning to jelly. The Class C hero would have collapsed, if not for a hand grabbing his shoulder and keeping him steady. "You should rest. You took quite a beating today," advised Deku while he helped Mumen Rider stay on his feet. Ashamed that the world's strongest man had to help to keep him on his feet, Mumen Rider tried to wave off Deku's concerns. It's nothing that a good night's sleep can't fix. Mumen Rider might have sounded sincere, if not for him suddenly coughing up blood. Maybe a couple of days in the hospital would be preferable, chuckled Deku. But before that, there's something important I want to ask you. Embarrassed that Deku caught his lie, Mumen Rider looked up at the towering body of muscle that was the number one hero and wondered what he wanted to ask him. What did you want to ask? Deku's smile seemed to widen if that was somehow possible. Will you become my student? Then and there, Mumen Rider fainted into unconsciousness, but nobody knew if it was because of his injuries or because of a jolt of shock going down his system. City J, the Hero Association Hospital. 2 days passed since the invasion of the Sea Folk and everything finally started to calm down. The Sea Folk had all been eradicated, the injured heroes were taken to the Hero Association Hospital for treatment, and the reconstruction of the damaged buildings and roads was halfway complete. The Hero Association even sent a few more heroes to patrol City J, just to make the civilians feel safer as they returned to their normal lives. Sharing a room in the hospital were the A-class heroes, Lightning Max and Stinger, who were still recovering from the injuries they suffered at the hands of the Deep Sea King. Okaimachi shared the room with them as well, but the swordsman had recovered from his injuries yesterday and left after being picked up by Yayan, the A-class rank 2 hero and fellow student of S-class hero, Atomic Samurai. Both Stinger and Lightning Max were sitting up on their beds and reading a newspaper that specifically covered 2 stories. The first story was about Deku and how he defeated the Deep Sea King who rampaged across City J. The story was 2 pages long of constant compliments for the S-class rank 1 hero, and much to their annoyance, it didn't mention any of the effort made by the other heroes who fought the Sea Folk. There wasn't even any mention of the Sea Folk monsters that Stinger and Okaimachi killed. However, the second story so happened to be the most important of the 2, and for obvious reasons. Deku defeating demon-level mysterious beings was nothing new, but it's not every day that the number 1 hero personally asked someone to be his student, especially someone who was only in Class C. Geno's being Deku's student was understandable, seeing as how the cyborg was already strong enough to be in Class S, but Deku taking Mumen Rider as a student boggled the minds of literal billions. 2 days later, it was still the main headline on all the newspaper agencies and news channels across the world. Both Lightning Max and Stinger stared at their newspapers in both frustration and jealousy. Frustration because there was nothing in the newspaper about the roles they played in fighting the Sea Folk, and jealousy over Mumen Rider being taken in as a student to the world's strongest hero. After spending nearly a whole minute glaring at the newspapers, both heroes let out loud disappointed sighs and dropped their newspapers. While unhappy, there was no point in them losing their cool, since it wouldn't change anything. Why the sourpusses, kittens? To the horror of Lightning Max and Stinger, the curtain surrounding their beds was pulled aside, showing the smiling face of Puri prisoner who was dressed in another prison jumpsuit. The S-class hero had wrappings around his head and a bandage over the bridge of his nose, showing that he was still recovering from his bout with the Deep Sea King, although he recovered from most of his injuries already, boasting an impressive healing factor. Most would have died from the beating the Deep Sea King gave the S-class hero. It doesn't show off those cute faces, told Puri prisoner, winking at both of the Class A heroes. It's you, cried Stinger, pushing himself as far back on the bed as he could. The Class A rank 11 hero knew all about Puri prisoner's reputation and had a right to be afraid. No way! I thought you were supposed to be in prison, exclaimed a shaky Lightning Max who remembered hearing about Puri prisoner being sent back to Smelly Lid prison to recover in their infirmary. Puri prisoner lifted a leg through the gap in the curtain, showing the ball and chain that was wrapped around his ankle. I escaped, just to see you two, he admitted in a flirty tone before brandishing a syringe that was filled with an unknown liquid. Now, time for your angle shots. Even though they were still recovering, Lightning Max and Stinger found the strength to jump out of their beds and run out of the room, fleeing Puri prisoner and his so-called angel shots. Come back, you guys! You need your injections, shouted Puri prisoner who moved to chase after them, but the newspaper fell off Lightning Max's bed and landed on the S-class hero's foot, distracting him. Puri Puri prisoner looked down at the newspaper which was open on a page that had an article about himself. Puri Puri prisoner looked at the headline of the article and what he read made him frown and clench his fists. Puri Puri prisoner was left alone in the hospital room to stew over his thoughts for a moment. Ha ha ha! I just saw Stinger and Lightning Max run down a hallway as if they were being chased by a god-level monster. I take it that was your doing, Puri Puri prisoner, laughed Izuku, walking into the room after dodging Lightning Max and Stinger who ran away in terror. Izuku stopped when he noticed his fellow Class S hero glaring at a newspaper on the ground, not even noticing his arrival. Puri, you all right? Izuku asked, now a bit concerned. Puri Puri prisoner shook himself out of his stupor, only now realizing that Deku was in the room with him. Oh, sorry about that. Was lost in my thoughts, that's all. What are you doing here? Izuku answered, even if it was obvious that Puri Puri prisoner was trying to change the subject. I came by to see and personally thank everyone who took part in fighting the sea folk. I'll have to give my thanks to Stinger and Lightning Max later whenever they come out of their hiding hole, and told Izuku, who stepped up to Puri Puri prisoner before he looked down at the newspaper on the floor. Almost immediately, Izuku saw the article which showed an image of Puri Puri prisoner, and he frowned when he read the title of the article. A Class S failure. Izuku didn't need to read the article to know it was all about how Puri Puri prisoner lost to the Deep Sea King. Obvious from the insulting title that the article was nothing but defamation towards the S-Class hero, and by the quotation marks around the words, Class S, the publisher was also questioning Puri Puri prisoner's rank as a Class S hero. Puri. Don't worry about it. It's not like some slander will bring me down, remarked Puri Puri prisoner in his usual flamboyant and playful tone, but Izuku could tell that it was forced. Izuku placed a hand on Puri Puri prisoner's shoulder to offer some comfort. Don't take what the media says too seriously, Puri. They get paid to slander heroes every day. You aren't the first hero it happens to, and I can promise that you won't be the last. Puri Puri prisoner's flamboyant and playful personality faded, leaving a man whose pride as a hero was hurt. But they're not wrong, are they? I didn't stand a chance against the Deep Sea King, he stated with a frown, recalling his fight with the sea folk. Then you learn what you did wrong and get better. In my professional opinion, I believe that you could have defeated the Deep Sea King if you had gone all out. Puri Puri prisoner stared into Deku's eyes, confused but also a little angry. I did go all out and I still lost. My angel rush didn't so much as leave a scratch on that monster. Izuku wanted to just rip off the band-aid. No offense, Puri, but I noticed that when you fight, you never fight with the intent to kill your opponent. Either you realize it or not, by not fighting with the intent to kill your opponent you are unconsciously holding yourself back, told Deku, getting a bitter chuckle from Puri Puri prisoner. It's funny, the Deep Sea King told me the same thing, said Puri Puri prisoner, who lifted his clenched fist to look at it. Thanks for telling me, though. It's something for me to think about. With a smile and a thankful nod, Puri Puri prisoner left so he could be left alone with his thoughts. Izuku watched Puri Puri prisoner walk out and couldn't help but feel a little worried for him. Unlike most of the other S-Class heroes, Puri Puri prisoner wore his emotions on his sleeves. For some, that was a good thing, but it also meant that he had thin skin when it came to insults, especially from the media. He just hoped that Puri Puri prisoner would learn from his fight with the Deep Sea King. Since he already offered his thanks to Snek, Jet Nice Guy, and Bun Bun Man, Izuku moved on to the hospital room, which was currently occupied by the C-Class hero, All Back Man. Since the door was already open, Izuku entered, but not without knocking on the door to announce his presence. Good day, All Back Man. I hope I'm not intruding. The reason he asked was that a young woman was sitting beside All Back Man's bed while the bandaged Class C hero stared out the window. All Back Man's iconic jacket was lying over the back of the chair that was occupied by the woman. All Back Man turned away from the window and looked at Deku in surprise for obvious reasons. It's not every day that the #1 hero visits you in the hospital. All Back Man was a young man with light blonde hair that was brushed backwards and had sideburns along with a defined jawline. Deku, said the woman, who was just as equally surprised. Because of the lack of facial similarities with All Backman, Izuku guessed that she must be his girlfriend or wife. "What are you doing here?" "I've come to give my thanks to every hero who played a part in defeating the Sea Folk," answered Izuku with a smile. "Then don't bother." "I didn't do squat to stop them," said All Backman, turning back to the window so his girlfriend and the world's strongest man couldn't see the tears threatening to leave his eyes. An awkward silence passed by for a moment before Izuku turned to the young woman in the room. "Miss, could you please give us a moment to speak alone?" While curious about what Deku might have to say to her boyfriend, the woman offered a slow nod and after sending a concerned look to her boyfriend, she left the room. Once alone, Deku walked over to the front of All Backman's bed. "Is there something troubling you, All Backman?" All Backman turned to stare at Deku, who was surprised to see the man on the verge of tears. "Of course, something is troubling me. I couldn't do shit against that monster. Hell, I was so scared that I pissed my pants." "What kind of hero pisses their pants?" exclaimed All Backman in shame, recalling how useless he was against the Deep Sea King. "That's why I'm going to quit being a hero. It's not right for me. If every hero just gave up because they lost a fight, there wouldn't be a single hero left in the world," remarked Deku with an understanding smile. "Don't let a single loss put you down. You get stronger every time you learn from your mistakes. I only just told that to Puri Puri Prisoner a few minutes ago. That's easy to say for you and Puri Puri Prisoner. You guys are S-class and you've never lost a fight," All Backman answered in a bitter tone. "What, you think I was always this strong?" asked Deku, waving a hand in front of his muscular frame. "Tell me, have you ever wondered why my hero's name is Deku? What a stupid question." Of course, he was curious, as well as everyone else in the world. Every other S-class hero had badass names that suited them, like Tornado of Terror, Silver Fang, Atomic Samurai, and Zombie Man. So why did the number one hero in the world have such a simple and insulting name like Deku? Many interviews have asked Deku why he picked the name, but he always found a way to divert the question so he didn't have to answer. "Ever since I was a child, I always wanted to be a hero. To save lives and do so with a smile on my face, just like someone I used to look up to. Unfortunately, nobody believed in my dreams because I wasn't born with a special gift like everyone else. Children being cruel then gave me the nickname Deku, as in, good for nothing. For a while, I believed that I was good for nothing." Deku's smile, which dipped the more he went through memory lane, suddenly widened. "But then I met someone who told me that Deku didn't have to mean good for nothing. Deku could instead mean, to be capable of. That person helped me believe that anyone can be a hero." It's been a while since Izuku thought of his old classmates, especially Okako Uraraka, who was the one who encouraged him like no other. "I bet she became an incredible hero," he thought with a smile. All Backman widened his eyes while coming to grips with everything Deku just told him. He couldn't process how anyone could tell Deku he couldn't be a hero, even as a kid. Still, hearing the origin of his hero name was both incredible and inspiring. To think that the world's strongest man was once called Deku was an insult, but now the name was the definition of what made a hero. Izuku wore the name, Deku, as a badge of honor, and the revelation filled All Backman with the energy to try and make his hero name iconic. To no longer be some unknown low-ranked Class C hero, but noteworthy. Izuku didn't need to ask if All Backman was going to quit being a hero or not. The fire he could see burning in the man's eyes showed him that All Backman wasn't going to quit as a hero just yet. After asking All Backman to think about his decision, Izuku left the hospital room and smiled to himself, knowing that he saved a good hero from quitting. Any hero, C-class or not, who could confront the Deep Sea King to try and save the lives of thousands is a hero he didn't want to see go. Speaking of good heroes, there was a certain cyclist in the hospital whom Deku still needed to meet up with so they could discuss future training arrangements. XXX 126, 127, 128 counted a sweaty Mumen rider as he performed push-ups in the middle of Bang's dojo while shirtless. Since he wasn't wearing his hero costume, it showed he had short brown hair and wore oval-shaped glasses that obscured his eyes. I must admit, it's good to see a fresh new face training in my dojo, chuckled Bang while he took a sip of his tea. The martial arts master was kneeling while watching the newest student of Deku perform his daily exercises. If you want, I could always dash. Not a chance. You've got your own students, so don't you try stealing one of mine, interrupted Izuku Midoriya, who was sitting on the floor beside Bang with his legs folded. Genos was sitting on the other side of Izuku while leaning back and watching his fellow student perform his push-ups. Perhaps a trade? Izuku deadpanned at Bang and glanced at Bang's longest remaining student, Chiranko. Chiranko was a young man in his early 20s with messy light-colored hair and wore a white karate gi. Said student was currently sitting on his knees a distance away, dozing off and trying to make it look like he wasn't. I don't think so. Bang grumbled, but accepted it. Ever since the incident, Bang lost most of his students with only Chiranko deciding to stay. Thankfully, teaching martial arts to the students in Hero Academy led to several joining his dojo for further training, although at the moment, most were currently working on their homework assignments, hence why they weren't training in the dojo right now. Probably for the better anyway, since he doubted the students would get much training done with Deku and Genos present. By the way, I've been meaning to ask you something, Izuku said Bang, placing his cup of tea on the floor. Word around the grapevine says that you recently requested Child Emperor to build you something quite big and expensive. Izuku shook his head and pointed at his newest student who was nearing his push-up quota, although struggling. Not for me. For my newest student over there. Bang nodded in understanding. Ah, I see. You appear to be putting a lot of effort into training Mumen Rider. I'm curious, what is it about that man that has caught your interest? He asked, although he had an idea. Gently, Izuku smiled over at Mumen Rider, and for a moment, he saw himself from 10 years ago struggling to do the push-ups whilst All Might watched on. I see a hero who can look into the face of evil itself and not flinch. Powerful or not, Mumen Rider will stand up to any threat so he can protect the lives of the innocent, even at the risk of his own life. He has the heart and soul of a true hero, and I plan to nurture that. Bang smiled as well, having thought that to be the reason. Genos was much the same, but the cyborg had the strength and firepower to match his heroic status. Mumen Rider was just a C-class hero who was more known for helping civilians with simple tasks that other heroes often ignore, like saving cats from trees or helping lost children find their parents. However, those simple but kind acts have kept Mumen Rider as the top-ranked Class C hero for nearly 8 months now. With how competitive heroes were, that was pretty impressive. I'll admit, there's another reason I decided to take him on as my student, admitted Izuku, his gaze studying Mumen Rider as if he was looking for something specific. Oh? Do tell, asked Bang, more than a little curious. He didn't think there was another reason for Izuku to take on Mumen Rider as his disciple. Genos, who had mostly been watching Mumen Rider perform his exercises, perked up, looking just as curious as Bang. I believe Mumen Rider possesses indomitable will. Bang's eyes widened in surprise, and for good reason. Are you certain? Izuku nodded while watching Mumen Rider fight through the pain from his push-ups. You should have seen his fight with the Deep Sea King. True, the monster was only playing with him, but even a lazy blow from the King of the Sea Folk would have knocked out or killed most C-class and even B-class heroes. Yet, Mumen Rider just kept getting back up. Bang turned to Mumen Rider and this time, focused his complete attention on the C-class hero. Just watching him perform push-ups had Bang see that Izuku was telling the truth. Mumen Rider was sweating very heavily and obviously in a lot of pain, but he was still going, refusing to give up. There was no better sign of him having an indomitable will. It also explained why Midoriya was training Mumen Rider so hard for the past few days. My word, you're right. Sensei, what is this indomitable will you speak of? Asked Genos, having been listening in on the discussion between the two S-class heroes, but not understanding the importance of this indomitable will that Mumen Rider supposedly possessed. Indomitable will is a unique ability that only a few in the world possess. It's when someone has unnaturally strong willpower that enables them to endure great physical pain and psychological trauma, allowing them to fight for longer than they should be capable of. For some, it even allows them to remove their limiter, making them even stronger than before. However, the limit to how much a person can take depends on the strength of the user. The stronger the user, the stronger they become through their indomitable will and the longer they can fight, explained Izuku to his first student. Indomitable will can be a truly terrifying ability when in the right hands. Metal Bat is another user of indomitable will, and I can say from experience that he is a very dangerous individual because of it, stated Bang, remembering the time he had sparred with Metal Bat just a year ago. In their spar, Bang never once got hit by Metal Bat, whom he had pummeled to the ground multiple times. However, every time he did, Metal Bat always got back up to his feet to continue the spar, no matter how bloody and bruised his body got. In the end, Bang's decades of fighting experience and martial arts mastery led to him defeating Metal Bat, but Bang was certain that if Metal Bat had landed one blow, he might have lost. Genos looked dumbfounded by what he was just told and then turned to Mumen Rider, amazed that the C-Class hero possessed such a unique ability. He was also surprised to hear that the S-Class rank 15 hero, Metal Bat, had the same ability as well, and by Silver Fang's words, it made him very dangerous. I meant to ask this earlier, but have you told Tornado about this new student of yours? Asked Bang, and by the nervous expression on Midoriya's face, it was obvious that he hadn't. Tatsu was called upon by the Hero Association to deal with a mysterious being who is rumored to be a dragon-level threat. The mysterious being has been slumbering in ice for millions of years, and recent scans have shown signs of it waking up soon. The association decided to keep Tatsu on standby, just in case the mysterious being becomes violent once it awakens. Hence, why she hasn't been around lately, explained Izuku, who wasn't looking forward to when Tatsumaki returned. It was not that he didn't enjoy her company, but she always thought too highly of him as she did herself. In her mind, she had them both standing on pedestals that looked down on the other heroes, Class S heroes included. When she found out that Genos became his student, she wasn't happy and still wasn't, even though Genos was now an S-Class hero. S-Class or not, Tatsumaki refused to believe Genos was worthy to be trained by Izuku, although he suspected nobody would ever be worthy in her eyes. However, he couldn't imagine how she'd react when she'd found out he took on Mumen Rider as a student. Like most S-Class heroes, she was very proud of her rank and she often looked down on heroes below her, including fellow S-Class heroes. Izuku tried many times to dull that powerful pride of hers, but that was a fight not even he could win. When she returns, he'll need to keep Mumen Rider close, just in case. While he didn't think she'd kill the C-Class hero, he wouldn't put it past her to try and hurt him. 198, 199, 200, grunted Mumen Rider, completing his 200 push-ups before collapsing onto the floor, finding the cold wooden floor to be comfortable against his sweaty chest. Not once in his life did Mumen Rider think he would be given the honor to train under a high-ranking hero, let alone the S-Class rank 1 hero. After all, he was only Class C, but it wasn't like he was complaining. In these past few days, Mumen Rider learned more about heroics and fighting than he did in all his time as a hero. All the fighting knowledge he knew before came from watching videos online and martial arts movies, but training under Deku showed him what true fighting was like. The first day of training made the entirety of Mumen Rider's body ache in pain. By the third day, his bones were crying in agony. Good man. Now that your muscles are all warmed up, we can start your martial arts training, said Izuku, pushing himself up to his feet. My muscles aren't warmed up. They're on fire, thought the sweaty Mumen Rider, who somehow managed to push himself up to his feet. While grateful for the training, Mumen Rider didn't much like the martial arts part of his training, because it always started with him sparring against Deku, which led to him getting his ass beaten before Deku explained what he did wrong. Perhaps Mumen Rider would learn more by watching a spar instead. What do you say, Izuku? Willing to spar with this old man, recommended Bang, who pushed himself to his feet before walking over to Izuku with a slight hunch in his back. By Bang's appearance alone, most people would be horrified over the prospect of someone starting a fight with the elderly man. Being over 80 years old, Bang had spiky white hair, thick white eyebrows, and a thick mustache. For clothing, Bang adorned a long-sleeved black martial arts jumpsuit, light-colored pants, and Tai Chi slippers. By the look of him, Bang should be in a nursing home, not leading a dojo. However, Izuku knew more than anyone that appearances could be deceiving. True, Bang was an elderly old man, but he was also known as the greatest treasure of martial arts. Izuku considered himself to be a master of his fighting style, the Deku style, but in comparison to Bang's mastery of the water stream rock-smashing fist style, Izuku was nothing but an amateur. 10 years of creating a fighting style of his own meant nothing to Bang's lifetime of martial arts training. If not for Izuku having mastered one for all, he honestly wouldn't stand a chance against Bang in a close combat fight. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Mumen Rider, I want you to pay close attention. You as well, Genos told Izuku, who began to stretch his arms and legs. He wasn't gonna fight Silver Fang without loosening up his muscles. That could nearly prove fatal. Bang followed Izuku's example and stretched, although he winced when he stretched his left shoulder. Shoulder feels stiff. Guess I'm getting rusty, thought Bang, but ignored it for now. You ready? He asked, going into his water stream rock-smashing style stance. As Bang moved his hands into position, a dangerous blue aura shrouded them. Izuku answered by activating full cowl at 30% power as emerald lightning arced across his muscular body while an ethereal shroud of green energy covered him from head to toe. Izuku's messy hair slightly spiked up as emerald lightning bounced off each strand and his green eyes glowed with power. Ready as I'll ever be, he answered, bringing his right foot behind him and keeping his clenched left fist in front of him while his right fist hung by his hip, ready to be used for a punch whenever possible. Mumen Rider nervously gulped as he watched Deku and Silver Fang square up against each other. The tension is getting so thick that it's starting to get hard to breathe in here, he thought, but the C-class hero refused to take his eyes off the two S-class heroes, even when he heard the obvious sound of Chiranko collapsing to the floor in unconsciousness. The intense energy between Deku and Silver Fang was too much for Chiranko to handle. Beside Mumen Rider, Genos watched with his arms folded and a serious expression on his face, although even he was starting to feel weary. Even though I'm not the one fighting, I can feel the tension in the air. It's nearly suffocating. So, this is what it's like for two top S-class heroes to spar against each other, thought Genos, who made sure to record every little detail. The winner will be determined by the first move. For nearly a minute, neither Deku nor Silver Fang made any move against one another, studying the other for the slightest twitch. Then all of a sudden and without warning, both Deku and Silver Fang blurred at the same time, surprising the viewers with their sudden movement and matching speed. Both S-class heroes threw an attack at the other at blinding speeds, and Genos widened his eyes when he realized that their attacks were moving so fast that he could barely follow them. Mr. Silver Fang. Silver Fang's fist stopped just before it could hit Izuku's face. At the same time, Deku's roundhouse kick stopped short of connecting with Bang's left temple. The sudden stop of both attacks created a burst of wind to blow across the dojo, causing Mumen Rider to struggle to remain standing while Genos stood unaffected by the winds. Chiranko's body could be seen flopping around in the background. Pulling back their respective limbs, both Izuku and Bang turned towards the entrance of the dojo where a very sweaty man in a black suit stood, looking like he was about to pass out at any second. The man had been in a rush to run up the mountain to reach Bang's dojo, which sat at the very top. I was sent by the association, panted the man. An emergency summons has been issued to all Class S heroes. Please come to association headquarters now. The Hero Association employee only then noticed that Silver Fang wasn't the only S-class hero in the dojo. You're out here as well, Mr. Genos, and is that Mr. Deku too? What perfect timing! Has a threat reached level dragon? Asked Genos, seriously. At the moment, only the higher-ups of the association know the reason for the summons, answered the Hero Association employee. Please come along now. We must hurry. Here we go, sighed Bang, who walked towards the door. Izuku frowned in concern. A summons for all S-class heroes? Did the association discover a threat so great that they needed all of Class S to come? He wondered, hoping that wasn't the case, but then again, he couldn't think of any other reason why they would request a summons for all the strongest heroes in the world. Either there was an extremely powerful dragon-level threat that required the combined might of S-class to deal with it, or there was something even worse than a dragon-level threat. A god-level threat. For once in his life, Izuku hoped that the threat was Dragon. City A Hero Association HQ. After a long limo drive from City Z to City A, the heroes entered the Hero Association headquarters, and the association employee who brought them informed them that most of the Class S heroes had already arrived. Mumen Rider gulped as he walked alongside Demon Cyborg, Silver Fang, and Deku down a hallway toward the meeting room. The Class C hero didn't need to be here, seeing as the meeting was only for Class S heroes, but Deku was insistent that he come with them to the meeting as a learning experience. The group of four stopped before a large metal door that slid open to reveal another hallway while also showing another S-Class hero who had just arrived before them. "Ah, hey there," Silver Fang greeted the S-Class rank for hero, Atomic Samurai. Atomic Samurai was a middle-aged man with long black hair tied in a ponytail, dark eyes, a small goatee, and a defined jawline. His attire consisted of a hooded red cloak with an atom symbol on the back draped over his open black hari. Beneath his hari was a traditional loose-fitting white robe tied with a white sash and two hari. Strapped to his left side are Atomic Samurai's katana and wakizashi, while in his mouth was a blade of grass. "Atomic Samurai, it's been too long," Silver Fang greeted back with a smile. "I figured you'd be here today," said Atomic Samurai before looking up at the towering mass of muscle that was Deku. "And I didn't doubt for a second you'd miss this exciting little meeting, Deku. Hero Association calls a summons for all Class S heroes?" "How could I possibly resist?" chuckled Deku, making Atomic Samurai laugh in response. "Very true," chuckled Atomic Samurai, who then turned to Genos, who had been quietly studying him. "And this must be the cyborg, Genos," he said, studying the newest member of Class S up and down, inwardly nodding in approval. He then turned to the other hero in the group. "And, wait a minute, who are you?" "I don't know you, but you do look familiar," he said, looking over at Mumen Rider. "This is my newest student," Mumen Rider answered Deku while patting a hand on Mumen Rider's shoulder, making sure to hold back his strength to not injure him. Mumen Rider still winced, feeling his shoulder turn tender. "Ah, so this is the guy who has been causing such a ruckus, hey?" remarked Atomic Samurai, having heard about the C-Class hero who was handpicked by Deku himself to become his disciple. "Gotta admit, I'm not seeing what all the fuss is about," he admitted, looking Mumen Rider up and down. "Don't you worry about that. Soon enough, Mumen Rider here will be up to challenging your students," smiled Deku, and while his smile came off as playful, a competitive spark erupted between him and Atomic Samurai. "Is that right? Well then, I'll be looking forward to the day that happens," answered Atomic Samurai as he glared up at Deku with a smile. Deku returned the smile with one of his own. At the same time, Mumen Rider was heavily sweating from being in such close proximity to a glaring contest between two S-Class heroes who were known for defeating dragon-level monsters by themselves. "What's this I hear about Deku taking on some Class C nobody as a student?" yelled a feminine voice from further down the hallway. "It appears that Tornado has made it to the meeting as well. I should probably head for the meeting room. Don't want to keep everyone waiting after all." Pretending that he wasn't fleeing from an irate Esper and abandoning Izuku to his fate, Bang walked down the hallway while dragging a reluctant Genos with him. Atomic Samurai followed after them while waving at Izuku from over his shoulder. "It was nice knowing YA," he laughed, just as a green blur flew overhead and headed straight for Izuku. Instinctively, Deku jumped in front of Mumen Rider, who was paralyzed over the sight of an angry tornado of terror charging at him with violent intentions. Thankfully, Deku used his body as a wall of solid muscle to protect him, which did manage to stop the world's strongest woman. Tatsumaki stopped and hovered at eye level with Izuku so she could glare at him at an equal height. "Move it," she commanded while wrapped in the green glow of her psychic power. "Hey, Tatsu! I take it that the assignment went well?" asked Izuku, acting coy, although he did cover himself in the green glow of One for All, just in case. The result of both top-ranked S-Class heroes powering up resulted in the hallway shaking. "Don't you try to change the subject. I leave for a few weeks and you take in some weeks stray off the side of the road." "What are you even thinking?" exclaimed Tatsumaki, throwing her arms over her head to emphasize how much she disagreed with his decision. "Don't be like that, Tatsu. Mumen Rider has the potential to be great. Here, let me introduce you to him, said Deku, grabbing Mumen Rider from behind him and shoving him in Tatsumaki's face. Tatsu, meet Mumen Rider. Mumen Rider, this lovely lady is Tatsu, introduced Deku with cheer, pretending that Tatsumaki wasn't on the verge of tearing apart the Hero Association headquarters in her rage. While being held up in the air by Deku's powerful hands was a bit uncomfortable, that was nothing compared to having the world's strongest woman glaring down at him like he was an insignificant bug that she found on the bottom of her shoe. Call me Tatsu and you die. Yep, she did not like him. Now that everyone's best friends, we should head to the meeting. Everyone must be waiting for us, said Deku, suddenly placing Mumen Rider on the floor before he guided him around Tatsumaki, carefully. Hey, don't you think you can get away that easily? And why is the Class C weakling coming to the meeting anyway? Don't you ignore me. Chuckling awkwardly, Deku led Mumen Rider to a door that slid open, revealing the meeting room, which consisted of a large holographic table that acted as the only source of light in the dark room. Situated around the holographic table were 17 chairs, with 14 of them being occupied. Ah, so he lives to fight another day. A shame, smirked Atomic Samurai, chuckling as Izuku pointed a warning finger at him. Deku wasn't gonna forget how quick they were to abandon him at the first sign of danger. Oh? Did you come back from fighting a powerful monster, number one? Asked Super Ally Darkshine, who had his powerful arms folded across his muscular chest. I guess you could say that, deadpan Bang, chuckling in amusement as Tatsumaki flew into the room with a grumpy expression on her face. The Esper flew over and took a seat on her chair beside Bang. Mumen Rider, who had been sticking to Deku's side, was quick to notice a good few of the S-Class heroes suddenly sitting up straight. Once in the presence of the world's strongest man, the Class S heroes really do respect Deku. Looking around the room, Izuku saw that practically every S-Class hero had arrived, all except for Metal Knight, which wasn't much of a surprise. Metal Knight tended to keep to himself, and a summons from the Hero Association wouldn't change that. At best, he would send one of his robots to attend the meeting while he watched through its camera. At worst, he doesn't show up at all, and Izuku guessed that to be the most likely case for today. Other than the missing Metal Knight, every other S-Class hero was sitting in seats that were assigned to them by rank. Thus, Genos was sitting in between Puri Puri Prisoner and Metal Bat, while Bang was in between Atomic Samurai and Tornado of Terror. Thank you all for watching this video. Check out the maker of the fanfic down below, and goodbye.